Any questions about the videos? And just a reminder, anytime you take something from a source that's not common knowledge, you have to cite it, whether you're quoting from it, summarizing it, or paraphrasing it. Okay? Most of the time, you're either going to be directly quoting from it or paraphrasing it. Definitely paraphrase it if we could benefit from you translating it. When you're in doubt, just go ahead and cite it. But most dates, most familiar quotations, classic works of literature, famous quotes don't have to be cited. Other things you must cite, otherwise you accidentally plagiarize it. Even if you are paraphrasing it, if you come too close to the original language, you can be accidentally plagiarizing it, even if you cite it. Because what you're saying is those are your words. Okay? That's why I wanted to look at the video that goes in depth about what it's like to come too close to the original passage. Your papers with research will go through a plagiarism checker. Okay. Usually it's not a problem. Almost all of them get flagged for some things, and I take a look at them, and most of the time they're just flagging your quotes or your, if they start flagging too much content is coming from sources, then it can be a problem. Because remember, only 10% of your paper should be directly quoted. And if like 30 or 40% of it is word for word from a source, that is problematic, right? All right, somebody's having trouble getting in. All right. So in the next paper, you'll be practicing these skills even further. So for the next assignment, you're going to write a persuasive research paper. Okay. 8 to 10 pages. Now I'm allowing you to base it on this paper that you're turning in tonight. Do be aware that a lot of times college instructors don't necessarily like you to reuse papers. You can always reuse your research. Like if you have a group of sources that can write a different paper, that's fine. I'm specifically instructing you to take the information and the research that you've done, come to a conclusion on your topic, and then defend that conclusion in the next paper. Okay? But you'll have to gather more evidence that supports your opinion. Probably give us more background information. But the reason I had you write this paper for tonight is so you could get familiar with the issue and come to an informed opinion about it. Okay? Do not add any of your personal experiences in there. We're going to talk about why in just a second. Because it's a research paper. It's based on research, right? So there are 3 ways, 3 basic ways that we appeal to an audience to persuade them. And I think somebody had already mentioned these You guys probably covered these in high school already. Those are ethos, pathos, and logos. Okay. Logos are probably the one you're most familiar with for these research papers. Logos involves all of that logic information. Let me show you. Share my screen here. Oh, wait, let me pull it up first. So logos refers to logical arguments, facts, statistics, all of that hard information that we would assume would be in a research paper, right? Based on research. Okay. So the logical appeal. Strong, clear claims, reasonable qualifiers. So when she's in the video said, don't make overly strong claims like everyone believes this or all of us know, because that's generally not true. You can't make a claim that encompasses everyone's opinion or everyone's belief system, you know, or every evidence basis that's out there. So warrants that are valid, clear reasons for the claim, strong evidence, facts, statistics, you know, personal experiences of others, you know, that you can use to augment. But that mostly goes, I think that goes more under the logos claim, but we'll talk about that in a second. Expert opinions, interviews, observations, and acknowledgement of the opposition. Okay. If you don't use it well, you don't support what you're saying. Basically, you use logical fallacies, which we're going to get into big time because a lot of American society is not aware that they are being tricked a lot of the times. And I want to make sure you guys are not tricked by the logical fallacies. Logical fallacies are based. Yeah, right, Jason?
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to go over a lot of them because they're used and they will continue to be used as long as a lot of people are not aware that they're being used against them. Okay. Sometimes they're even used by people like you might believe something and somebody's using a logical fallacy to try to support you and you're just like, please don't help me because your argument is bad. A logical fallacy, if you look at the argument, the logic falls apart. And I'll give you some examples of those here. So it basically, bad logos means it's not well supported or the evidence is misrepresented, you know, they don't address the opposing views at all. Okay. The ethical appeal is how much we trust you as the author. So you remember part of academic style I also said was you want to have a reasonable tone, right? A professional tone. We trust you more if you sound like you know what you're talking about, if you're using the right language and, you know, efficient language. So you know your topic. That's why you wrote this last paper, right? You should have a good overview of the topic. You're going to find out even more about it. You'll be confident in your position because a lot of times when we send you out there to research things, you can feel a little, you know, uncertain because it's a new topic and you haven't found out a lot of information about it. But if you've done thorough research, be confident. If you're going to be damned for what you truly believe about your topic. Okay? If you're going to go down in flames of glory. Just be sincere and honest. You know, I want your honest opinion about it. Understand the reader's concerns and their objections and answer them because that makes you look reasonable. We talked about all the reviews on Amazon, right? If they're all 5-star reviews and no one has a problem with it, well, there's always somebody out there who's got a problem with something. So, you know, we have to be able to trust that you're willing to concede points on the other side. If you're just like the other side is all wrong and you won't concede anything, then we start to suspect your objectivity. Okay. So this is how much we trust you. That's the ethical appeal or ethos. This is how reasonable you sound. This is that you don't use bad arguments and logical fallacies, that you're willing to concede points as well as defend points on your side. You don't call names. You don't use bad arguments. Okay. When they're used unfairly, it can hurt your ethos and advocate bad or intolerant ideas or be insulting of other people's viewpoints. And we all get mad occasionally, right? We all want to, respond, especially if someone is responding in kind. But you can't do that with academic writing because you fail to persuade people, right? Do you guys argue with people that you know? How do those arguments usually go? Are they about persuading someone? At my house, they're usually not. It's like, well, you forgot to, take your laundry out or whatever it is. I'm not trying to persuade them that, the logical course of action is to take your laundry out and put it away and allow the next person to do their laundry. No, it's mostly about just arguing and yelling, right? That's not the kind of argument I'm talking about. You fail to persuade people once you piss them off. And if your tone is too aggressive or too unreasonable, we will not be persuaded by you. Does that make sense? And the last one, which is the one that most people neglect, and I understand why, because you think research paper and you think, I must make this as dry and dull and boring as humanly possible. No, we are still human beings, right? We love stories. We talked about that with storytelling. So you have to also unite your argument with an appeal to the emotions, but there are good ways to do this, and then there are unfair ways to do this. So back when they were talking about stories, you need to good emotional appeals appeal to the best in us. They appeal to our sense of cooperation and our care and concern for our fellow man and saving our planet and the right way to do things, okay? Of course, everybody has an opinion on what that is, but they appeal to the best of us, our honest emotions, and they're not manipulative, right? So they reinforce logical arguments. They use description, which we've covered, to create scenery. So maybe you're arguing for that prison reform and you're describing the terrible conditions that some prisoners have to live in a way that engages our emotions, right? It's still an authentic piece of evidence, but you're appealing to our emotions so that we care enough about the issue. Whereas if it's all about abstract things that we can't see a connection to real human beings, we care less. That's how human beings are, right? So you create a bond or a connection with the reader. You appeal to the good in them, idealism, beauty, humor, nostalgia, pity, all of those things that make you want to help someone out. Okay. When they're used badly, they usually appeal to the worst in us, our biases, our hatreds, our fears, our anger. They bring out the worst emotions. Okay. They substitute for logic and reason by trying to scare the bejesus out of you. That's an emotional appeal also, and often it works. It often works as an argument if you don't know that people are manipulating you, right? So a lot of the name calling, a lot of the exaggerated statements, all of these things involve unfair emotional appeals that manipulate through fear, hate, pity, prejudice, embarrassment, okay? Other than dealing with legitimate parts of the issue, they're trying to scare you or make you angry about things that may not be true, okay? So those are the three basic things. You're going to combine all of your evidence with a reasonable tone that addresses the other side and also appeals to people's emotions in a way that makes them see how it affects real people. Make sense? Questions so far? Let me show you a video that has some examples of all of these appeals and introduces you to a logical fallacy as well.
Logical fallacies and how to improve.
1 second, let me share my screen here. So this illustrates some of the things that I was just talking about. Ethos, pathos, logos. Okay.
Prove your argument. It's a short explanation of methods which you can use to strengthen your arguments. This is mostly in relation to a high school paper, some sort of persuasive piece, or perhaps a speech that you're going to give. I'm going to talk about 3 rhetorical devices that are very useful. One logical fallacy that pops up all the time, especially in student papers, which you should try and avoid. And we're going to do this by looking at several commercials. The commercials I pulled off YouTube. I'm hoping I'm not stepping on any copyright rules. This is all for the purpose of education. I'm not endorsing anything that's in the videos, so hopefully that'll clear anything up. So let's get started. Does anyone know who that guy is? He is one of the most famous orators of all time. And his name was Cicero. And he wrote, "How incredible it is that few men, using the abilities given to most men, have the power to interest, motivate, and persuade their fellow men." So let's talk about these devices. We're going to explore 3 rhetorical devices which you should use, and 1 logical fallacy that you should not use. So you should use the appeal to character. This is sometimes called ethos. The appeal to emotion. This is called pathos or pathos. And the appeal to reason. This is called the logos. And you should not use a very common fallacy, the appeal to popular belief, argumentum ad populum. This pops up all the time in our culture, and we're going to look at some examples of it. So to start, let's watch this video, and I want you to think about what rhetorical strategies are being used.
I'm Dale Peterson, and I'm after the Republican nomination for Alabama Agriculture Commissioner. I've been a farmer, a businessman, a cop, a Marine during Vietnam. So listen up. Alabama Ag Commissioner is one of the most powerful positions in Alabama, responsible for $5 billion. Bet you didn't know that. You know why? Thugs and criminals. If they can keep you in the dark, they do whatever they want with all that money. And they don't give a rip about Alabama. Here we are, losing 3 family farms a day. Illegals bust in by the thousands, and Alabama's unemployment's at an all-time high. And what are my opponents doing about it? Stealing yard signs in the dark of night from my supporters. Norman Grace brags on his Facebook page about receiving contributions from industries he would regulate, bragging about receiving illegal money on Facebook. Who on earth would support such a dummy? And why? We're Republicans. We should be better than that. I'm Dale Peterson. I'll name names and take no prisoners. Give me the Republican nomination for Ag Commission, and let's show Alabama we mean business.
So let's talk about what you saw. I'm not really sure what Ag Commissioner is, but in this video, Mr. Peterson actually uses quite a lot of rhetorical devices. So though it seems like a very sort of homemade type of video, he's a pretty clever fellow in what he was able to do there. So the appeal to personal character or ethos. So what does he talk about? He establishes a connection with his audience by referencing his work in occupations which are honorable occupations. Being a farmer, a businessman, a cop, a Marine during Vietnam. So what he's trying to do there is build trust with the viewer by establishing that he is someone who can be trusted. And that's what ethos is. And there's one other prominent one, the appeal to emotion, pathos. He tries to access the fear he believes exists in voters. He appeals to their emotions, saying, here we are losing 3 family farms a day while illegals are busted in by the thousands and Alabama's unemployment is at an all-time high. So pathos in this example is, you could say, anger or fear. And that's a very common use of pathos because fear and anger are very motivating. So if you can tap into people's, whether it's anger or fear or whatever negative emotion, you can often persuade them using that. Anything else? There was actually a lot of things in that video, but these are the 2 main ones. Okay, we're going to look at one more video, and I want you to look at how the appeal to character, ethos, and the appeal to emotion, pathos, are used. As you watch this next video, think about how these rhetorical devices are being used differently than before.
1931 was not exactly a great year to start a business, but that's when Allstate opened its doors. And through the 12 recessions since, they've noticed that after the fears subside, a funny thing happens. People start enjoying the small things in life. A home-cooked meal, time with loved ones, appreciating the things we do have, the things we can count on. It's back to basics. And the basics are good. Protect them. Put them in good hands.
Okay, so another clever commercial. What did you see? You saw the appeal to character, ethos. Allstate suggests that their longevity is representative of their good character. They mentioned that they opened during the Depression and they survived 12 recessions since then. So clearly they must have a good character to be able to survive that sort of adversity. What else? The appeal to emotion. This is slightly different than before. Unlike the previous example, Allstate appeals to hope, that is positive emotions. They talk about enjoying the small things in life and getting back to basics and protecting your family with them. So in this case, they're appealing to hope and love, which are the other aspect of pathos. So it's not always a negative emotion you're appealing to. Sometimes it can be a positive, but ultimately it's the same rhetorical device. It's the appeal to emotion or pathos. So far, so good? Okay, what about the appeal to reason, which is logos? The appeal to reason is just that. It's an appeal to whatever makes the most sense. This is a very useful rhetorical device. When speakers writers can neither establish credibility through their personal character, nor manipulate the emotions of their audience or their readers, they can always advance their argument by explaining why their position makes the most sense. So let's look at an example of that. As you watch this video, think about how an appeal to reason is being used.
Every year, Volvo subjects its cars to a race of doom, providing us with insight to help make our cars safer for you.
Okay, what did you see? Volvo appeals to reason. Every year, Volvo subjects its cars to a race of doom, providing us with insight to make our cars safer. So what does that mean? If Volvo spends so much time collecting data on how cars are affected in crashes, then it stands to reason that they're better able to engineer their cars for safety, right? So it's a direct causation. So they're not really using emotion, which is pathos. They're not using character, which is ethos. They're simply using logos. We spend a lot of time researching, therefore we're able to develop good cars. Sounds reasonable to me. What do you think? And lastly, argumentum ad populum, the appeal to popular belief. This pops up in our culture all the time, so much so that we use it quite often without even realizing it. So in this logical fallacy, the speaker writer suggests that an idea is a good one simply because a large group of people believe that it is, and they don't base that on any sort of information. It's simply everybody else thinks it's a good idea, therefore it must be a good idea. So let's look at this video. It's sort of a tongue-in-cheek video, but let's watch it and see if we can figure out how the appeal to popular belief is being used.
Another billionaire is broke. C. Montgomery Burns has lost his entire fortune, estimated at $3 billion.
So what did you see? And yeah, sorry, Coke, if I'm stepping on your copyright, but Coke is a great company, and The Simpsons is a great TV show. So, but what was going on there? First of all, Mr. Burns loses his fortune. He's unhappy. What makes him happy and why? I'm sure you can answer that. Everybody's drinking Coke, makes them feel better. Coke doesn't say anything about why their product is particularly good or that it's healthy or give any kind of reasons. It simply shows that everybody is having a good time when they're drinking Coke. So the thought is that you can have a good time if you drink Coke also. So that's argumentum ad populum. Everybody else is doing it, therefore it's a good idea. It's technically a logical fallacy, but it pops up. You'll see this in commercials all the time. So it's something to avoid in your arguments. If you can, at least be, if you're going to use it, at least be aware that you're using it, I would say.
Don't use it.
So let's end with a parting thought. Whoever does not study rhetoric will be a victim of it. And that's an ancient Greek wall inscription. Rhetoric is pervasive in our culture. It's all over the place. It's fine. You should use it yourself, but you should at least understand it so that no one can use it against you. So I hope that this was helpful for you.
Okay.
I'd like to say, I don't know if I cut you off, but like, I'd like to say that argumentum ad populum, can't that be used for like inductive arguments? You know, if you're trying to like supply evidence and all that stuff.
Well, yes, but then you wouldn't just be using the fact that a lot of people believe it. You'd be starting with the fact that people believe it, but then you'd be adding evidence to support it. So in that case, the only evidence would not just be the belief of a large group of people. It would be more than that. But yeah, you could start there.
Okay.
Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we base a lot of things on what the majority of people believe, right? But then we have to look deeper. That can't be the only reason to argue for something. You have to go in and provide further evidence.
Yeah.
And commercials are a great example of all of these things because they only have like 2 or 3 minutes to appeal to us. And they have to be memorable because let's face it, we're fast forwarding through a lot of them these days. So they are sort of concentrated appeals. So they're a really good way. So another, these are some old ads. Let me show you another example of argument ad populum. And they're in the, I think Gap is doing these ads again. Let's see if they're doing the recent ones. Is this a new one? No, it's still a few years ago. Or 5 years ago. So there, let's see how they use argument ad populum. Oh, sorry, hold on a second. Better share my screen. So let's see how they're using argument ad populum.
Saffron. Saffron's mad at me. I'm just mad about saffron. She's just mad about me. They call me Mellow Yellow. They call me Mellow Yellow. They call me Mellow Yellow.
Okay, did you see what they said there? Everybody in chords. Let me find another one. Where's the one with the vest? Okay, so what is their argument for wearing cords or wearing vests? Well, all of these very pretty people who are singing are doing it, right? That's pretty much it. Look at all of this big group of people, gorgeous people who are wearing, you know, what we want to sell to you. So, argument ad populum, right? Can you think about, like, do you guys have favorite advertisements? I mean, I know you guys don't watch as many advertisements as I did growing up, but like, if you can think of an advertisement, they used to have really great Coke advertisements.
This is how we do it. State Farm.
Mm-hmm. State Farm does the,
That's classic.
yeah, the logical appeals, and they're like really telling interesting stories, right? Yeah, it's kind of like Allstate, where they're using the emotional appeal to, like, you know, protect everything that you love, appealing to our nostalgia, you know, our community, our care for, you know, the traditions, all that good stuff. The polar bear, yes, I love the polar bear Coca-Cola advertisements, Alexa. You should think about your favorite advertisements and look at the kind of appeals that they're using. I think that they're just using cute in the polar bear ads, right? Polar bears are so cute. Oh, there's a really famous Coca-Cola ad that you guys probably are not familiar with. Let me see if it's on YouTube. And we'll see if we can identify the appeal that they're using. Oh, gosh. It is there. 1 second here.
I'd like to.
Let me share my screen. So this is a famous ad from 1971 for Coca-Cola. Coke is good at this emotional appeal stuff.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world to sing with me. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. It's the real thing. I'd like to teach the world to sing today. Harmony and dignity. And I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. It's the real thing. What the world wants today is the real thing. What the world wants today is the real thing.
Okay, so what kind of appeal do you think they're using there? Like to buy the world a Coke. Using logic, emotion, or ethos. Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you did like it, why? Let's look at it. I am drinking Diet Coke right now. I have a Diet Coke problem. Yes. I'm really not paid to advertise for Coke. They just have a lot of good commercials that have interesting appeals. What are they trying to communicate there with all of those young kids on a hilltop in Italy singing about drinking Coke from all over the world. How does that help them sell Coke? Yes, yes, Alicia. There's like, everyone loves Coke. Argument ad populum again, right? Appeal to the emotions, you know? Here's something that can unite the world. You know, whatever country you're from, wherever, you know, you may go. Most people know what Coke is, even if you can't even speak the same language. Yes, it's a very pleasant commercial, right? It became very famous. Is anybody in advertising? You might see it in some of the famous ad retrospectives that they do. I mean, and it's effective, right? It makes us feel happy to think of all the world singing together, united, you know, enjoying a Coke. Oh, Fabian. Yeah, I'm going to have you guys find some ads too in the next session to talk about. Because we're about to run out of time here. I knew what you meant. Yeah, good. Hold that thought, Fabian. Fabian's got another commercial. Well, let's see. I don't think we have enough time to look at. Let me end this session and start up another one. And I want to have you guys look for a commercial that you think has an appeal and explain why you like the commercial. We'll start with the one Fabian sent me. So I'm going to end this session and we'll come right back. All right, I'll see you guys in a minute.